We are recording.
Excellent. So, hey everyone, welcome to snowy February. Very different than it looked a month ago. But yeah, appreciate the time.
Hey Jeff, how appropriate that our website has snow on every building on the pictures.
Yeah, very good. I like that. In January, that might have looked a little optimistic, but it looks perfect now. Good use of technology.
Even the Waveney snow sledding trail has.
Yeah,
I took a look at that today to see how much that's being used.
Is it? I'm sure people are out there, right?
Yeah.
I remember doing that with my kids. It was awesome.
Oh, there's been a lot of sledding out there. My daughter's been taking her daughter there. She's loving it.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. All right, so let's get going. First up is just order of business is to review the January meeting minutes. So thanks, Paul, for sending it out. So do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Anna Marie.
And it's Jeff. I will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So approve the minutes. We've got a few topics on here and open for others as well. The first one I put on here was around all the email work. I want to hold on that just in case if Mike Bopp joins, because I know that Bob, you've been working with him, but it'd be great for both of you. A few other topics in there. One is around the topic that came up, was it last month, I think, around digital invoices for accounts payable. So love to chat about that and see, is there something there that we can help with? All permit renewals and other things in parking. So Stacy, would love to, thank you for joining. Would love to understand if there's something there we can help out with. And then update on broadband and internet. I think there was a little bit of talk ahead of the call, but yeah, just an update where we are on that. And then if we have any other topics anyone else wants to bring up, happy to discuss that as well. Sound good? Sure. So since we've got Stacy here, let's jump into that first. So Stacy, yeah, I'm curious if there is anything around, as we understood around, is it parking renewals for permit parking and others? Is there other things that, potential of digitizing it, putting it so people can do it via web or whatever? Would love to get your thoughts on, are there areas that we can, help out with?
Well, I know moving forward, Kevin wanted to put all the permit renewals like they did with the transfer station online. And the last meeting, which was a few months ago, I think, Tucker, if I could recall, it sounds like we will be able to do an email blast and get people to renew online, their permits renewed online. I think with Chris's help and Tim's help, it's a possibility to send a blast and give the website through ComPlus to do the renewals online. It's my understanding that it could be done. I was just doing a quick count of the numbers. So right now we have 1,828 active permits.
Wow.
470 of those I do not have email addresses for, but I do have email addresses for 1,358 of those. So I'm working on trying my best to get as many email addresses as I can moving forward, so that if we do decide to go in that direction, I will have as many emails as possible. So, but I think moving forward, it's a project that we can do.
The process that you and I have talked about, Stacy, right now is that if you have, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? If you have a permit, you in the past have been sending out a letter to me saying that it's time to renew and all of my information is on there. And I could go online and verify all of that and pay my permit fee, but you were still initiating that through a paper application, correct?
Correct, yes, because right now, in order to do it online, you need an account number and a permit number. All the physical mailings had everything pre-populated on everybody's renewal application.
Right.
Cars, account numbers, addresses, names, and all of that. So it had required information that was needed to do it online.
Right, but we can send out, a unique email to each person, and then it would take away the need for any paper back and forth.
That is my understanding through at the last meeting. Yes,
Right.
we can do it that way. Yes.
Stacy gets a lot of mail every day, and I was asking the other day, I said, what is all of that? And she said, primarily it's people who are paying parking tickets. Even though you can pay online, she does get a lot of mail from the people, from the parking ticket fees. So, and is that the only thing that you do by paper, Stacy, in terms of the renewals?
And we do the wait list renewals, the yearly wait list renewals through the mail, but I believe that would be possible to do online as well.
Right.
Moving forward through emails.
So there's some fees too that we have to talk about. That's not necessary for you all to decide, but there's some
Correct.
Convenience fees and things that on a 600 and whatever. What is the permit at the lumberyard? I mean, at the train station,
624, and the convenience fee is 3.5%. So it usually is close to $20 if they wanted to currently do a renewal online. So it's an additional $20. So that's something that would
using
need
a credit card.
Using a credit card.
Would we have the ability, you technology folks, would we have the ability that people could do the old fashioned way of putting in your routing number and your checking account number and not pay that convenience fee?
Yeah, well, that's what they do for the real estate taxes. When it's a 95-cent fee, right? Actually, the difference between the transfer station where it's only $45 or $75 here, a permit for the what, $640 or something.
Yes, yeah.
So the credit card charge is considerably more, and therefore we ought to think about making available what we have for real estate taxes, where you just paid 95 cents.
The only thing, I'm sorry for interrupting. The only thing is, and I'm not sure, this would be more of the technology question, is the renewals go through ComPlus or Passport right now that it's called. So when somebody does a renewal, it shows on their end. And then what happens is in my software program, I just open up the web-based portion of it, and I see everybody that renewed online, and all I do is click on it. So right now it goes through them. So I'm not sure how that would work as far as doing a routing number or anything like that.
ComPlus is your processor.
Most retail operations really build the fee into the pricing.
And that's what was
because that really annoys customers when they have to pay the extra fee.
Right. Now, it may be it's part of their revenue stream, right? I mean, if that's part of it for them, is collecting part of that 3% fee. Some of it actually goes to them, others goes to the actual processors.
Stacy, to be correct, the transactions that were actually taking place at ComPlus or Passport, or whatever they call it, it's not taking place at our end of that connection.
Correct. It's taking place through them.
Well, it is but right now how many people out of the 1,800 pay with a check?
I'm going to say at least half to 3/4 still pay with the check as of last renewals.
Yeah,
that's
the point. And the reason you have 2/3 or 3/4 is because people don't want to charge a $600 permit fee.
Right.
Correct. Yep.
There's still no reason though why somebody couldn't get an email that says your permit's up for renewal. You owe $636. I could still write out a check and put it in the mail to you.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
If I don't want to pay that.
But we can also give them the option that the tax department gives for real estate taxes of a 95-cent convenience fee.
Right. ACH.
Yeah.
ACH.
Exactly.
And that's
where does that take place though? That takes place on our side of the connection.
Yeah, well.
In other words, all I'm just trying to separate is that.
Yeah, but that's the point. If they send in a check, ComPlus has nothing to do with it.
Right.
If we send an email, say you can either pay by credit card, send in the check. We'd like to discourage the checks, or with a 95-cent convenience fee. Most people will take the 95-cent convenience fee. But
it wouldn't. But because it's going through ComPlus, it wouldn't be the 95-cent. It would be that 3.5% convenience fee.
Well, what Stacy's saying is they're going to collect that revenue stream. They're not, because it goes through them. The processing has to for the renewal. If not, it's Stacy. I don't know about this. I'm no. You guys have said
Chris, back up. The way it currently works is they pre-print the bills that she sends out in paper. Right. If people choose to go back and use the payment process through ComPlus, they're going to pay that 3.5% fee.
Right.
If they send a check, if they send a check, they're going to avoid that fee. And if in the letter, which would now be an email instead of a letter, we say you have a third option to pay the 95-cent convenience fee, unless it's in our contract with ComPlus, if we have to use them for all electronic charges, we got to check that.
And the question is, does ComPlus have a ACH option, right? Like, so it's just something we didn't opt for, but they do it, and maybe they charge $2, whatever their fee is. Because you're right, paying $20 fee for a credit card, that's a little much. Yeah. Or putting it on your credit card if you don't, from a balance standpoint.
Well, Tucker and Stacy, you got to just take this offline. Bob went through this with the transfer station fee, and actually, the reason we wanted to do it with parking is because we thought the parking technology is better than using the RecTrack thing, which we had to use for the transfer station.
Right.
So ideally, we'll take the parking system and transfer it back to the transfer station for the renewals this year with the transfer station.
Right. And then the other goal is going to be to collect all of those email addresses that you don't have.
Yep.
Because probably of how many transfer station permits do we have, Tom? Bob?
2,300.
Yeah, all those people all have license plates.
Right.
And you're taking license plates for your parking permits too.
So we may be able to, Bob may be able to help match up to
That's
give
right.
you.
Yes.
That's the
yes.
Point. Now, the transfer station was all paper, or going up to the window. We wanted to get rid of that. In this case, we're just trying to make it as convenient as possible for the permit holders. They get an email. Most people want to do it electronically these days, as long as it's not an outrageous fee.
Yes. No, you're correct. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, by doing it in the parking system, it would be more efficient throughout the year, because I'm surprised that there are a number of people who, since they purchased their permit, they bought a new car.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to go through the process all over again for another permit, and you have to mail it out.
Anyway, this is all doable, but let's take it off, Tucker.
Okay.
Bob.
Just one last question though is, if ComPlus doesn't have the ACH option, is there a way that we can do it?
Right.
Now that would, it's a little more work for Stacy to match it up to wherever we're paying from, but do we have a ACH option that we could leverage for another purpose that Stacy could use?
We're using it for taxes. Is that done by us, Chris?
I have no idea. That comes out of finance. IT doesn't handle money.
Yeah,
we only handle cash.
It's a third party. I forget what it is. Cloud? Wait, Invoice Cloud or something?
Invoice Cloud, right.
Because I use it and it's very handy. I mean, it's a system. Well, anyway, it's very handy, and I pay my 95.
It's not us. It's just right. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Invoice Cloud through tax collection.
So it is a third party.
Yes.
So it sounds like it would have to be a third party, whoever it is we go with, but it's definitely a third party that would set that up.
Right.
But can you just pay it like a bill, like you pay a bill, like whatever utility bills or household bills, like it could, could be done the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we need a third party for that?
We're not set up as a utility for take payments that way. We don't have any process. We're not a processor. We don't take. If you came in with a check or you wanted to pay cash,
but it goes from bank to bank. We don't.
The other option would be
no need for middleman.
The option would be to look at the bank and see if they have an ACH. But right now, tax does it because it's through the tax website, the vendor that supplies the software.
If you want to set up your own payment processes, you got to set it up so you have the kind of cybersecurity that all these vendors have. Mm-hmm. And Chris doesn't want to get in that business of being a direct payment processor.
Yeah.
Well, I can understand why, but
we're PCI compliant, but I don't know about taking
a bit of the middleman here altogether.
Remember what you guys studied 2 years ago, the whole payment process, Jeff.
Yeah.
And looking for ways. Ideally, we'd set up a way to have people have an account with the town, and they could just, pay. I want to pay my transfer station fee. Click here. I want to pay my parking permit fee. Click here. And we'd have but that's not the way it works. We have different vendors for different departments, and they all have their systems. But we can borrow from. Like we borrowed RecTrack for the transfer station. It was kind of glitchy, to be honest with you. But not glitchy. It was for the user. It wasn't the ideal experience because they had to find this little cross to check in the process. Right. But that's what people use all the time for signing up for rec programs. If it works there, we can use it for the transfer station.
Okay.
Bob had to go through quite a lot just to get a separate account set up for the transfer station. So that we had the same thing with Lapham Center. They were lumping all the Lapham Center charges for seniors into the recreation department, and then they had to manually go in and separate them. So we opened a separate account and separated all the transactions.
But that same type of account couldn't be used for an ACH type transaction?
I think we could, but again, we ideally have to just use one of the vendors now. I think we can probably use the vendor that the tax department uses.
Right.
But let's take it offline and have them figure it out.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So Stacy, thank you for joining. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay on if you like, but
well,
feel free to drop.
Everybody have a great rest of the evening.
You too.
You
Take care.
So the next thing I had was we'd mentioned around accounts payable and digital invoices. So I understand a lot of vendors are paying us, whether they have to submit invoices by paper. If I'm wrong here, correct me, and then payment out to them in some cases is by check.
Jeff, let me summarize this for you.
Yeah.
Okay. The state of Connecticut has digital invoicing. You cannot do business with the state of Connecticut unless you give them a digital invoice. The city of New Haven has digital invoicing, right? It's built into our Munis system, and we discovered, and there's a software interface that we have to install. This was a project for Linda to accomplish, and we really need to accomplish it, because right now we literally take in paper invoices, have someone scan them so they become digitized for storage, right? And if you go digital, you put the burden on the vendor to submit his, we get hundreds, thousands of invoices by paper. It's something that we can do, and we should do, and it just hasn't gotten done yet.
Okay. Is there anything we can do to help from assessing? I mean, what is there anything up for the TAC committee?
Probably not, because it's really just a matter of once they discovered that it's actually already in Munis, it was kind of like, wow, why don't we just turn it on? There's a little bit of work to do, but it's not difficult. It just hasn't been done yet. Okay,
so you've identified the solution. It's just a matter of
we identified the solution, and we're surprised we already had it in Munis. Munis is our master accounting system for the finance.
Got it. And so is that both
Again,
directions?
It's another computer package that's made available it was specifically designed for municipal governments.
And is that both ways? So as a vendor, I submit my invoice electronically, and then you'll pay me, ACH or some other way?
Yeah, actually, our town treasurer, Andrew Brooks, had developed a process with a bank where the vendors would get paid. How did it work?
was credit card, I believe, right?
Yeah, so that we essentially would make money on rather than cutting checks to everybody, we would pay them with our credit card effectively, and
Right.
we would get the rebate back on that. I don't think we actually installed that after Andrew, for reasons that I can't recall.
Yeah. But I know a lot of, obviously the ACH is the, making payments electronically is the ideal approach, right? You don't have to cut the checks. Yeah, the credit cards are great, but it is sort of some manual steps, right?
Well, the manual step here is taking paper and scanning it. We get thousands of invoices and we have to scan them.
Right.
If they came in digitally, we wouldn't have to have that person scanning.
No, understood. But I'm also saying on the outbound, so avoiding writing the checks, which has its own risk to it, right?
Actually, the interesting part about this software is that the software actually reads the invoice.
Yeah.
And if it's something that's expected, it automatically pays it. Like it's something that, routine kind of thing. If it requires review, it automatically gets directed to the department manager who has to approve it. And then they have to prove it. It goes back to accounts payable to pay.
And then
so the artificial intelligence of reading the bill and understanding whether it's routine and something that should automatically be paid is a large part of the workflow process that eliminates. So
got it. Which sounds great. Just the last question I'll ask is does it also help on the payment side? So avoids checks.
Yeah, it avoids checks. Obviously, it can avoid checks if we use the credit card process that Andrew signed up for can be built into this workflow with the digital invoicing.
Okay, but if the vendor doesn't take a credit card, then you write them a check.
I think effectively most of the you sort of make it a term of service doing business for the town. Okay. If you want a business, you have to, and I think that's the same way it works with the state of Connecticut.
Is there a target for the time when you expect this to happen? Or is that an embarrassing question?
I don't know, Paul. I think it was supposed to be a critical few objective for Linda, and I don't know what the timeline was.
Okay. All right. Well,
we should put this on our 1 year from now.
Yeah.
Agenda.
But I think it was 1 year ago that
we can ask if it's still there.
Okay. Well, this was all figured out early last year.
Okay.
I'll tell you the story of how I won't tell you the story. Never mind.
That's good. I mean, that's the progress. I mean, you can't. Right. It doesn't happen instantaneously. Right? But you've got to go in the right direction. So
no, that's good stuff. Okay, any other questions on that topic? All right, so let's move on to the database. Sorry, I haven't gotten from Mike, but Bob, I know you're heavily involved in it. So if you could give us the update from your standpoint. Sounds like some great progress has been made. All right, you're on mute, Bob.
Sorry about that.
There you
go. Okay. Yeah, Mike Bopp's team was given our primary databases. Our primary, we have 7 databases we're primarily working with. The assessor property record and the voter registration, which are our 2 primary ones. Then we provided the transfer station, our 65 plus information, the Everbridge information, constant contact, and then the active students from the Board of Education. And Mike's person, Sid, wrote a program and merged all of this data, pulling out the email account where we had it. The other day we received the key fob back and we're starting to look through it. I need to talk to Sid to understand it a little bit more and maybe tweak it for presentation purposes for us. But he ended up with over 21,000 lines of data, of which he pulled out 9,000, just over 9,000 emails. So we've got about 42% of emails through this process. We also, while they were going down that path, we also got a hold of all of the voter registration applications, about 6,000 of them came in this year because the Secretary of State requested phone number and email address. Interestingly enough, the Secretary of State did not open a field when they were putting the information into the system for email. So we had a couple of people working with that information, and of the 6,000 applications, people provided 2,000, just over 2,000 email addresses. So about just over a third of those applications did not have it. We have 14,000 active voters, so now we have 14% emails on that end. I then sorted that data and printed it for the registrar of voters this afternoon because they mentioned to me, they get about 10 phone calls a day and they aggressively want to get email addresses. So they've got the report, and anytime they talk to a constituent, they can capture an email address and will more aggressively go after that. I've also been working with the parcel information from the assessor and converting that information to residential units. So for example, the new project, The View, that shows up as one parcel with 4 buildings on it. So I've been working with the Millport management, Canaan Parish management, the View management, and trying to work with Avalon and getting the email address, the US postal address, and creating that and adding it into our database. So taking the parcels we have, subtracting out all the commercials, subtracting out the land, subtracting out condominium garages and all, and adding in all of our 2+ family parcels, we have just over 7,200 residential addresses that we'd want to populate with all this data that we've got here.
Now this is what Bob's trying to explain. We're trying to get to the residential address master list because, believe it or not, the U.S. Postal Service can't give it to you anymore. And because Tucker went over and talked to the postmaster and stuff, and it's amazing they can't give it to us. But
they can give it if there is an API, you can pull it, but you can only pull it if your purpose is.
You can only use a mail house now. They won't give you the addresses, even to the town. But if you want to do a mailing, they will send it to the mail house to make the mailing for you.
Right.
So our mail comes not out of the post office here. This is just an outlet now. It all comes out of Springdale. And he hooked me up with the woman in Springdale. I provided her this information because she was going to talk to the guys who handle the route, because the real nits in this are the 2 to 4 family homes. That we have here, and we've got 384 2 families and 27 3 to 4 families. So we're gathering this information in. We're just trying to efficiently get it into one place, and then I stay awake at night thinking about how am I going to keep this current.
Well, the whole point is that I thought Mike was going to build a tool that would make that happen automatically. So. But the key about this whole thing is we're trying to get all this just to put it into Everbridge. So we know we have a contact for every household for emergency outcall purposes. And then secondly, when Stacy says I don't have email addresses for 400 or 600 people, well, we have email addresses somewhere in our databases. She just doesn't know where to find them. By putting them in one place, when these departments said, I need an email address for this, this person, you go to the master database and we have it. And so this is designed to allow them to be electronic, because there's no excuse for anybody not to have an email address, given all the ways they deal with the town. I mean, our Outlook system alone, I mean, there's thousands and thousands of residents that are constantly emailing us for different reasons. We have their name and address in one of our databases. We just don't have a common system that matches it up with their address. That's what the goal is.
So let me ask,
right, Bob, because you're still searching for email addresses, even for the seniors.
Oh, it's constant, and it just seems like there's got to be an efficient way and cost-effective way of having people somehow, when they touch the town electronically one time, that it becomes a universal capture of the customer base.
Well, I think that was one of the ideas of the Everbridge system is one, it's only one system, right?
Yeah.
But it is central. You know, the emergency out call is a key part of it, but it can be used for others, right? So that could be your database. And, you know, if Stacy wanted to do an email out to, you know, whomever, in theory, she could use that.
Actually, that's true. That's true, because we plan to use it for public works, you know, right now, rather than sending messages, letters out to people whose street's going to be paved. We can just send them emails.
Yeah. I mean, he actually has, either he sends out U.S. Postal Service, or I think they go actually put it on your door saying, you know, we're paving your road next week.
Right.
It's not going to be usable.
Right.
Email would.
Everbridge has great capability if we just get it all loaded up.
So Bob, just going back to what Mike provided. So you gave him all those lists, which had all of the fields in them, right? Not just email. Did he match up? So you have 7,000, whatever the number is. I guess it's not, hopefully it's more than 7,000, because there's more than that, like unique records in there. So Kevin Moynihan shows up only once in there. We know that's Kevin, and here are all the different instances of it.
I think part of the problem is, like, the voter registration list is the most complete list of adults who are over 18 in New Canaan at 14,000, which quite honestly is more than normal, because we have a number of people living with their in-laws and stuff, or their parents, because of COVID, and they came here and they changed their voter registration. We really should be down around 13,000, and especially with the college kids who stay on for a few years after they leave home. But the point is, when we're looking to match up residential addresses, we're looking for the people who actually live there full time. The college kids, you know, they're with their parents, but those aren't the people we want to communicate with. When we put the recreation department constant contact list in there, we have college kids in there as well as adults. So that's how you get up 21,000 with the matchup, because there's a number in there we don't want in there. We don't want the college kids.
Which is why we kept a key field in there, that date of birth.
Date of birth, yeah.
Because we could say, okay, here's our cutoff, 23. Below that,
right?
We're interested in them, but we're not interested in them for this project.
Most of the lists we have, except for the recreation department, are adults living in town.
But whatever the number is, so what I'm trying to get at is how many unique records, regardless, even if they're college kids, that we have across all of these lists. So we know we have some information on you now, and then here's all the cases we have. We have your email for this person. We have your your license plate on this.
Well, we loaded in 30 or 40,000 from all the lists you had, and it boils down to 21,000.
Yeah, I think what you're getting at is that the 21,000 that we're talking about, he's taken a record from 7 databases, and he eliminated some of the duplication, gets us down to 21,000.
Okay, so we have 21,000.
I think.
Okay, so if we think that's it.
Well, I'm waiting to talk to Sid, who put the program together.
But the way to be able to identify this is if you simply take the Excel spreadsheet they developed and you alphabetize it by street address, and you see, oh, at this household, there's 2 or 3 or 4 names. Well, probably only 2 of them are the parents in the house.
Right.
And the other 2 are either an in-law that's living with them or a college kid who right? And so we want to go in back and get it down to 2 adults. Many are only 1 adult if it's a widow or widower. So the great thing, we got a lot of data still.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten to the point where we only want contact information for every household, and in some cases we have it for both spouses in a household. The problem right now, we do have households that have 4 adults in them because people are living at home.
Which is why it's the most critical sort that we start with is the address, because you could take an address 50 Main Street, and you may end up with 4 or 6 pieces of data for those 4 or 6. They may be previous owners still in there versus the current owners, or especially as we do more rental units in this town, we're going to have people moving out and moving in. I was fortunate, for example, Arnold Carp, Millport, Canaan Parish. I talked to the day-to-day manager there. They gave me the data, who's in those units right now, what their email address is if they have them.
But what an email address doesn't account for is if I move, I mean, my email address goes with me.
Yes. You're correct. That's the point, is trying to keep this current.
But if you move within town, we can keep track of it. If you move out of town, you're out of our database.
We don't really need to keep track of you anymore.
Right.
Provided you let us know. I mean, we've come up with this with the voter on elections. People move within town. Well, now you're in a different district. Well, sometimes they don't care. They just vote in the old district. They don't let you know. They moved. They haven't updated their record, or sometimes they move within the same district and they don't let you know what the new address is.
Mm-hmm.
Tucker, you remember when we were trying to do the survey and we wanted to get the newcomers' email addresses and right? I mean, you know, even though we have a lot of data for different reasons for why people are in town and where they are, we don't have a master database. So that, you know, if you want to, and the you know, clearly once we get it done, we have to address how do we keep it current.
Yeah, I mean, garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in. Over time, it'll get. You know, when we were amazed with RecTrack, right? They never purge their data. They have thousands and thousands, but they have people who, you know, for the last 15 years, that a lot of that data is bad because people leave town, people die.
Well,
they have kids that were registered in there for Little League who now are in there owning homes in the town.
And their own kids.
With their own kids.
But I've had a handful since I've been with town. I mean, I've had a handful of people call and say, you know, I'm still getting the out calls. I don't live there anymore. I don't need it. Take me off. And, you know, if everybody can have access to that database, or at least be able to get the information to somebody so we can remove the people that ask to be removed, whether they call me or they call.
Well, we've done that. Chris takes them out when they ask to be out.
Right. But I had to tell Chris, if they don't call me, if they don't call Chris and they call me, I got to tell Chris.
But you know, the nice thing about the Everbridge program, is people can log on now and manage
only if
themselves.
They
have already set up a profile.
That's the point. And that's something that when Timmy said the other day, we have 6,000, Chris, I don't believe it's 6,000. When I went on the other day and looked at the dashboard, I think I only saw 2,500 people who go on and provision themselves.
No, anybody if people have called up and they've corrected themselves or wanted to correct themselves, if we've done it, you won't get portal member entered. It'll actually, the last person that touched it. And we've changed hundreds for people.
Well, but
there's 13,000 showing in there right now, 13,000 or 17,000, I'm sorry, 200 and change in the
but that's because
the contact list.
We loaded all that data in.
Correct. If you break it down in its member portal, I haven't pulled the report, but
and I get 3.
We found.
Well, we have 4. We have 4. Most households have multiples.
We have people that have changed their email addresses yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, I'm not getting this, and I changed my email address, and I've gone in and done it. Can you take it out for me? It's an ongoing administrative task.
Exactly.
It's not. We get people that have actually created accounts and still send us emails and say, can you clean this up for me? Sure. For instance, yesterday, the email you'd sent me, they were in there. They were in there as a member. They registered in, I want to say November, and they just sent an email saying, can you go fix this for me, instead of opting in to go change their own.
So it's easier.
No, you're saying then people who have registered don't know how to go back in and use it, and they're contacting you to do it.
They contacted you. Yes.
They contacted me?
Yeah. That email you gave me the other day, I forgot who it was. Going and looking into the system, they were in there. They just wanted to remove an email address and add a work email address.
So here's the point. When we converted to Everbridge, the good news was we went from 3,000 email addresses under Blackboard, because we over 10 years, we didn't get more than 3,000 email addresses. And some of those were probably outdated. And then we put in, was it 18,000 or whatever we loaded in. And so they're getting emails as well as phone numbers, calls, but in most cases, they cannot change their information because they didn't self-register in the first place. I think 2,500 have, if I'm reading the dashboard correctly. Timmy said 6,000. I don't believe it can be 6,000. But we have to figure out. The good news is we're communicating with them, and we get very few feedback that I don't want to be communicated with. So,
right, and I just want to add, if you guys are to direct anyone to us, we're directing them to go on and log in. I'm trying not to register people. I want them to register because there's a few things we get out of that. They get the administrative ability for their delivery options, whatever it may be. And the second reason, we get their geofence. I don't have to go look up their address. They have to fill that in when they register. So if you direct them to the New Canaan site to actually register, that helps out better than just saying, here, IT, put these people in.
So, this leads me to two things. One, and we talked about this before, that we should communicate with people and say, if you want to use Everbridge more effectively, here's how you can do it. You're getting the messages, but if you self-register, you will be able to update your information and also choose how you want to, whether you want to get emails, whether you want to only get text messages, whether you want to get only phone calls, or we also have the option of selling the idea of using their app. The Everbridge has an app which they can put on their phone, so they don't have to go in. And I think when you're on the app on phone, you're probably already, you just click on it and you're already logged in, aren't you?
You can log in anonymously. What
does that mean?
Yep, I have the app. There's an option where you can say, just send me everything in this zip code, and it goes up and it says, okay, it registers you. Not as a user, just as anything that comes out of New Canaan's portal that you send or that anyone sends from our side, they'll receive on the app.
So we don't.
I opted for the app. It works great.
My point about the app though is do you have to enter in a user ID and password if you have the app on your phone, or since it knows your phone, you just click on it and you're in?
Right. What you do is register by area code or zip code, sorry, because it needs to know what it's sending, where it's getting its message from. If you do it with the state of Connecticut, it's the same thing. State of Connecticut allows you to opt into theirs, anonymous as well, and they go by zip code. And your zip code, that way, if you're in the area, you get it from whomever's sending it.
In my opinion,
that's different than using Everbridge the way we want to.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying that's how the app works, though. It works in many different ways. I logged in because I get everything right from there, and I can use the management side of it. But if you want,
my opinion, I think what we need is we need to develop a simple marketing collateral piece.
This has been discussed 100 times, Bob. So please write it.
We've talked about it. We've talked about it. We haven't gotten it done.
Yeah, we need it because then we can go out to people. We can go to the church bulletins. We can communicate this throughout town.
Well,
the first key is if you've got 21,000 email addresses, like that's our first thing, right? Is to go out to people.
Yeah. We can do it electronically. We just have to decide what we're trying to communicate. Jeff, did you download the app?
I do. Now I use it because I use it both for work, because we use Everbridge at work.
Yeah.
And also here. So I have it for both.
How do I download the app? Do I go onto
just go to the App Store and search for
and Everbridge and I download it.
Yep.
Let me try it so we can get farther to try to figure out how we're going to communicate because that's the one thing we haven't done. I mean, the good news is people are getting communicated to. The bad news is we haven't trained them to be able to self-provision themselves.
Right.
Yeah, and when I attended that conference that Everbridge had a while ago, they said that the app was a much better way of communicating with everybody.
I think we ought to sell that idea to our residents and see, you know.
Yeah. Now, I think, as we've talked about before, is once again, where we said it earlier, the more departments we get on it, the more reason for me to be on it, right? Like if it's parking and tax and everyone's sending me alerts.
Exactly.
Yet now I want to go in and say, yeah, no, I want the tax alerts. So I go in and register and oh, by the way, I'll take parking while I'm there.
Can we brand the app so it says Town of New Canaan rather than Everbridge? Town of New Canaan, Everbridge? No. Nope.
I'm trying to find it.
I do not believe the app you can. We can ask them, but I do not believe it.
Okay.
The app comes up and says Everbridge, and then when you put it on there, I don't know if you can see this, but it'll ask you that you can't. The state of Connecticut, if you want your zip code done, or if you want to actually connect to New Canaan alerts, there's two different options. All you have to do is put the zip code in. And if you do the New Canaan alert, it actually asks you to go ahead and my user is not active right now, and I don't know why.
Hey, Paul, have you done it? Have you done the app?
I'm doing it as we speak. It says here.
Let's do it as we speak.
It's like it says subscribe Connecticut Office of Governor. Is that what I want?
Well, the state of Connecticut uses Everbridge too, so you can, as Chris has been saying, once you're in for one.
Which one does it look like? Because I have one on my phone, but is it the orange one with the white line?
Yes, it's the orange one.
Okay. Yeah,
if you type in
yeah, I already do have it. Yeah.
If you type in New Canaan, where it says search the town.
Right.
And then you go to alerts. Sorry, I spelled that one. The first one. Town of New Canaan. It'll actually ask you to, if you're already signed up, log in. If not, create an account.
You know, the ultimate thing for us to do actually would build a Town of New Canaan app.
For what?
To be able to have everything you do with the Town of New Canaan on a Town of New Canaan app. And it kind of has Everbridge sort of in the background as well. And that consolidates all our data. And when you come onto the Town of New Canaan app, you can click parking and do your parking stuff, and you click taxes and you go to taxes and recreation.
It didn't work. It didn't find my account, but I'll do it later.
So it's the Everbridge mobile app or the Everbridge mobile safety app. Mobile app?
It looks like that, right?
It's orange.
Yep, that's the one.
Everbridge install. Now, will this find my account by putting in my zip code?
It asks you to log in. If you type in New Canaan. And
yeah, but you're going to need to know your username and everything. That's what I'm looking up.
Yeah, it's the same account as the website. Otherwise, you're going to create a new account and drive Bob crazy.
Okay, well, it doesn't find. I have to find out, go to the site and see my, I don't remember what it was.
This is like we're in therapy class right now.
Yeah, I know. It's like, let's all do this together.
We have a website meeting tomorrow afternoon. We'll talk about this tomorrow at our website meeting.
Okay. But yeah, I think the idea of communicating out, whether it's through the app or what would be great, because I think, you've got the contact with people. Bob, I like the idea of going out to other channels, but the nice thing about email to me is always I read it and there's a link right there, right? That will take me right to the site versus I get a card and I'm like, okay, go home, put it next to my computer. Next time I go on, I log in, right? It's good, but I think the emails is, I have it right there. I log right in, I get it done and I move on. So it's at least and there's no cost, right? Or very little.
And what that if it was a card, if it was electronic, it would all look the same and say the exact same thing. For those that want to go right online to click, and it explains.
Yeah, nice is if you try with email first, you see what the response is, and you see the feedback, and people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. All right, maybe the messaging needs to be improved, kind of thing. So,
I'll work with Chris, see if we can come up with something.
All right.
What is the subscription to the Office of the Governor?
How do I know what my username is?
It's the same one as your website.
because you wrote it down on a little index card and put it in your file like I have.
Which you're not supposed to do.
I know it's in where the cookbooks are. No one's going to look there.
Is it my email address,
No.
Chris?
It should be your email address.
The Moynihan K?
You're not supposed to tell us, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
And the meeting's being recorded.
no,
Exactly.
So you're telling everyone.
The technology committee really did a great job tonight.
no. My
Okay.
town email address is my name, but when I in Outlook, it's Moyni K and then at newcanonct.gov. Chris? No?
Mine's different. Mine's not anything with my email.
You're going to your private email address. I'm muting because we are being recorded. I'm not going to divulge your information.
Yeah. Just so use your personal email address.
We'll do it tomorrow.
Don't say what it is.
I'll text it to you.
This is not being broadcasted on
It is.
79, huh?
It is.
It's on 79. We're live.
No.
Oh,
No, it's just recorded.
I know it's being.
It's being recorded, but it's not being broadcast.
It's going to be accessible to everyone
Yes.
with our new.
Well, no,
my
Sal
email-
can edit it.
My email address already goes out to all the on all the yacht calls.
Right, but you started talking your username and
And it's your
we're
personal.
worried about
email.
your password.
Yeah.
Is it my personal email address?
That's what Chris said. So. But he's not gonna. He won't divulge that because we're on recording.
Right. So we'll deal with it tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
All right.
Close call.
So, all right. So we've gone around. I think just circle back. So, Bob, sounds like great work there. You're going to follow up with Sid. I did get an email from Mike. He got tied up at work, so he'll follow up as well tomorrow. But yeah, sounds like great work. But more to be done as well.
And the hard part is just trying to keep it organized.
Yeah. That will be but I think, like I said, that's how we got on Everbridge, right? If there's a reason for people to give you updated information, Everbridge is a good source of that, right? People want to be on it, want to get whatever alerts or anything. So, okay. So the only other topic I had, which I know it's still, I think in, you're doing research, is around broadband access. So Tucker, just, any update, just at a high level? I know you're still working through it, but.
Yeah. We are working through it. And there was another email that went around tonight from Bob Kenny. And I see some of the other towns like Jamie Stevenson and people like that chimed in. But we've had a meeting, most recently, we had a meeting last Friday with the Frontier folks who basically told us that New Canaan's not even on their radar. They have no plans to look at New Canaan anytime soon. However, I feel like by the end of the meeting, she was kind of interested in what we were talking about and would get us some more information. We have another meeting this Friday with some of the folks at Altice to tell us they claim that they do have a fair amount of fiber in town, and we'd like to know where and what their plans are for that. One of the people that has been having a lot of issues, one of the neighborhoods that's been having a lot of issues over on Shady Knoll, a gentleman emailed me over there and he said, lo and behold, he found out that he had fiber on his street and he hooked up and everything's resolved. He said it's lightning fast. So I think there's some of that. I think there is some fiber that's not being utilized. So that's kind of where we're at with the project per se, is just taking an inventory of what is available out there.
Yeah.
Jeff, did you say you checked the Altice website or Optimum website and they advertised the option?
Yeah, no, they were ready to hook me up.
Right.
So they can, but I had to go through, they're like, we have to shut down your account, close your account, and then we will open up a new account on fiber. And I was like, I can't lose internet access. I've got everybody at home. Like everybody's here.
Don't do it.
So I was just like, no, and they're like, no, we promise. And I'm like, I trust you, but like, there's no turning back. In the middle of a snowstorm, I would literally not survive the next day. So, I think it's a good news, and I'm glad to hear some people have gone on it. But it's the little kept secret, and and you can go to the website and you can type in your address and it will tell you. Now, I just out of curiosity, sorry.
Yeah. Altice.
Optimum.
Optimum.
Optimum.net.
Okay.
And I just did a quick spot check because you can type in any address in New Canaan, and it doesn't appear it's in the north end of town, but it is a little bit along Smith Ridge. Now, this is my unscientific study, so just take it. But there are pockets of it throughout town that they claim they have fiber. Now, they will tell you your address if you don't. They'll just give you their normal cable offers. So you just go in and pretend, you know, want to sign up for cable, and they'll tell you whether you can get fiber in your thing. So I did sort of spot checks. It's around, but it's odd. It's on one street, but it's not the next street over. So I don't know how accurate that list is, but it was interesting.
Kind of weird. You think that when they're bringing the wire up into New Canaan from somewhere, and then it's going to branch out. You know, because I know that a guy who has it on Canoe Hill, because during the storm he went down and he was going crazy. He operates a business from his home, a hedge fund business from his home,
And then somebody was telling me that their whole street got together and brought in a company called Go. I wrote it down, it's at the office, but they claim if you get enough people on a street, they'll come in and hook you up. So there's...
They don't own the fiber, they lease the fiber.
So the fiber has to be there for them to be able to do it.
Right, what they do is they go to somebody like Verizon, or they do someone like Altice's drag fiber through the town, or Level 3, and they'll rent fiber strands from them. They lease it.
The other thing, Jeff, you were on the call on Friday, or was that last Friday? I can't remember that long call that we were on. And they were saying that fiber is now completely back ordered. It's hard to get right now.
The actual cable itself.
Yeah, the actual cable.
Yeah. So if they want to
like 50 weeks or something in some cases.
So if you're Altice and you want to lay more cable, you can't buy it. So right now.
Supply chain is having an issue. And that kind of makes sense, right? I mean, every town in America is what we're trying to do.
Right. And if some of it's coming from overseas and there's, you know, issues with getting it, that kind of stuff. So
I still don't understand why everybody thinks fiber is going to solve their problem in a catastrophe or a storm, because when the wire gets ripped off the pole, so does the fiber.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think,
whether you're running 100 meg or 1,000 meg, you're still going to be on the ground.
Yeah.
I think people generally understand when we have a storm and we lose it. It's just the fact that day to day, I was here by myself 2 weeks ago trying to work at my house, and I just kept dropping. My connection just kept dropping. Yeah. No one else. Nothing was on. I was just working on my computer. That's frustrating. So we'll know more. I guess
not just this provider, from what I'm hearing throughout the state. Comcast is having the same thing, and so is Xfinity in the north end of the state.
Right.
Comcast is going through the same problem that New Canaan has seen in the past storms, or even with all these kids home. And I'm in Orange with Optimum, and I've experienced it where I'll tell my daughter, just run over and reboot the cable modem, and you're back up and running. And they swear there's no outage, but you'll go over the weekend where not everybody's on all the time, and the cable modem never has to be touched. So Jeff and I were talking about this last week. It's been an ongoing problem for all the carriers.
Yeah. So as far as Altice, though, we'll know more on Friday. I think Mike Abbott's joining the call.
Right.
So hopefully they're feeling the pressure and they'll be able to give us some answers.
Great. Thanks, Tucker. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, definitely something worthwhile. So, all right. So those were the topics I had. Any other topics anyone wants to bring up?
Just the last time, Jeff, you had asked me about if I could find out exactly what the handoff was, which is not a topic, but it looks like, at least up in my area, Frontier, just what I thought it was an Ethernet handoff, but they will come coax to your house, gigabit coax, and then to their modem, and then Ethernet out to your. So it's the same connection as you have now. There's really no disruption.
Is that for Frontier, you're saying?
Yeah, Frontier and Altice is doing the same thing. They're all using the same modems. They don't invent their own modems. They don't produce them. So they'll either go Cisco or Aries or something like that.
Got it. Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay.
That's it.
Thanks, everyone. All right. Motion to adjourn.
Sure.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thanks,
second.
everybody.
Good. Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.